If you have multiple losses in your life or a repetition cycle of divorce or abuse or addiction in your family, it goes back to generational curse. And you got to go back and break it off, and you can be the martyr in your family to change things.
Depression sucks the life out of you. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to eat. You don't care. That zeal for life is robbed.
Yeah, you don't have to live in depression. It doesn't have to be that way.
Hey y'all, I'm Madison.
And I'm Crystal.
And we're your host.
Welcome back to the Comeback Podcast.
So today we are just hanging out. We are about to take the mask off and just get real with you guys. Hopefully you already listened to our personal testimonies, and we fit in as much as we could and what we felt like we needed to touch on in those particular episodes. However, on some of the topics, you guys got the Spark Notes version of some of our struggles during that point in time and how we were feeling in those moments, how we got through them. And we wanted to get deeper into some of those things today. If you haven't watched those yet, I want you to stop right now, go back and watch those stories first, because we're playing off of that episode today. Crystal went more recently, so we're going to start off with some of the things she wants to get deeper into today.
Yeah. So my story was a lot, but one of the main focuses I was speaking on was about my dad and where that led to. So when I was a little girl and really experiencing the loss of missing out on my father, I ended up developing a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, and I stuffed it for a while, but a lot of the decisions that I made were based off of not knowing my worth because I didn't have a father figure in my life. It became a very surface level relationship. It was a text maybe once a year on Mother's Day and happy birthday, and I just was so over it. About 3 years ago, I was talking to a client, and I remember saying, listen, if my dad dies, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't even cry. Nothing, it wouldn't faze me. I wouldn't go to the funeral, nothing. And my client was like, really? I'm like, yeah. I ended up planning a trip to go back home to visit family. I'm walking on the plane and I get a phone call from my brother, who is the most stoic, precious man, is crying and hysterical. And I'm like, Dan, are you okay? And he's like, Dad just had a heart attack. Come to find out, my dad had COPD, and I realized I had actually blocked my dad's number. I was just so hurt that I was over it. And when he called and said that he had a heart attack, even his emotions, and hearing my brother cry like this broke my heart. I was a puddle. I was a mess. I get in my seat, and the person next to me is consoling me. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, absolutely not. My dad just died. I remember literally walking to the nearest bar afterwards, getting a shot of tequila.
Oh, wow.
I was just
didn't know what to do.
I didn't. And that was my coping mechanism. I was a mess, and I didn't expect those emotions to come out in me. So now my vacation back home to visit family turned into God getting me on a plane to address the real issue. So I get there, and my dad did not want a funeral. Well, I wanted to view my father's casket. I was very adamant about this. I felt in my heart I needed to have a conversation with my dad. So I am in the room by myself with my father in his casket. And this was a very real moment for me because I'm starting to feel guilt and shame, hurt and pain over not being a good daughter, not reaching out. I didn't know my dad was struggling. And if you have someone in your life that you have a conflict with, that you feel like it's too far gone, I've always said this, if I could go back like a year before that and mend something, I wish I did. But God still did something in this moment for me where I wasn't able to physically say this to him, I'm sorry, because it's always a two-way street. But I had it out with him, and my brother and my sister and his wife are standing on the other side of the door, and who knows what they heard, but I just let him have it. I literally started yelling at the man. I was like, you sucked. You were like, how could you have done this to me? Why did you leave me? I'm telling him all the things that I always wanted to say. And then something took over. In that moment, I grabbed his hands, and I imagined him holding me as a baby. And I was his world when I was a baby. My mom used to tell me when we had you, he was ready to be a dad. And I didn't get to literally see that, but it's like God gave me the vision when I touched him, and I started calling him daddy. And that little girl in me was crying and weeping for the man and the relationship that I never even got to have, but I saw him in a different light, and I said, I forgive you. And something happened in that moment too. He didn't hear me say, I forgive you, but it did something to me. It healed a part of me that I always wanted to be healed, because it's about you forgiving them, and that gives you so much freedom. You can hold on to things. And I literally was allowing like murder in my heart. I was allowing hate in my heart. And it was just, I was free from it at that moment. So I meet with my brother and my sister and my stepmom afterwards, and I get more insight on my stepmom's side of how much he really did love me, and how much it was a struggle for him growing up, the things that he saw, and who his dad was, and how his dad was in his life. Mm-hmm. And it just gave me more insight into why he did the things that he did.
And more empathy, probably seeing somebody else, the shack where.
Yes. The shack actually really gave me that picture of who am I to judge?
Yeah. If you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. It's amazing. But just how hurt people. And there's usually something deeper and a root to something. And a lot of the times these behaviors are learned through parents. They're generationally passed down. There are generational curses that are passed down. And if your dad didn't have a dad, that was something that kind of passed down. I bet that was probably his biggest fear in life, was not being the dad that he knew he wanted and didn't have either. It's that cycle until you get God into your life and let him break off those generational curses, then you be the one that like it ends with you and you start a new blessing over your family.
And that was what I got to see is as he was growing up, I was told he slept with a knife under his pillow because his dad was an alcoholic and his dad was always very angry. It gave me that insight into how he did what he could with what he knew best to do. And like you said, generational curses, that's something that I really wanted to touch on, because we're looking at something that happened not just to him, that ended up happening to me a couple times more. Me having a broken family and certain scenarios that happen over and over again, that's generational. If you have multiple losses in your life or a repetition cycle of divorce or abuse or addiction in your family, if you start to see a cycle of that, it goes back to generational curse. And you got to go back, and it starts with forgiveness. Then let the Lord show you and reveal to you where you can break it off and change it. And you can be the martyr in your family to change things. And that's what I'm doing right now. But it started with forgiveness with my own father. One of the coolest things that took place was a year later, we all get together, and my stepmom had passed around what my dad had left to each of us. And it wasn't money. I'm thinking, oh, wow, what are you leaving here? My stepmom handed me this Bible. And at the time, this Bible is 50 years old. It's now 52. And I'm thinking, why did you give me a Bible? Let's fast forward a little bit. I actually don't open up this Bible. I just thought, well, that's sweet. And my dad, growing up, he had a relationship with God, but we don't exactly know where he was before he died. I know that my sister was really trying to get him to know where he came from and know where he was going. And we have belief that it's possible.
Question. When you say he had a relationship with God, do you mean he believed in God but maybe didn't have a relationship fully? Or
so I wasn't around during this time, but my sister said that he was actively like not wanting anything to do with church and God.
Okay. Around the time of his passing, prior to.
And during the time of his passing, his heart was still hardened. So it was just so interesting that he left me this, especially knowing all of that. So over the last couple of months, I actually picked up this Bible and I opened it up. And
show them with if you can, the front.
Yeah.
Cool
it's like, there's literally, yes. And there's like pamphlets in it. It's really cool. There was a lot of my dad's handwriting in it. And there was a note, and it was under Job. And it was an underlining of your house being torn down and taken away from you.
Wow.
Yeah. So I pulled it up in my Bible. It was a little tab that says Job 18:14. And it says, they are torn from the security of their homes and are brought down to the king of terrors. And I'm like, all right, what does this mean? You leave me this little note, Dad. I really felt like it was for me. But all that showed me in that moment was he was hyper-focusing on pain. I resonated with that so much that this whole family had hyper-focused on their pain. And I didn't just lose the security of my home, he did. And it went down the line and down the line. I have the opportunity to truly stop this, because this isn't just pain that I felt like when I read Job's story. This is pain that my dad was feeling, and he wasn't focusing on the good parts of Job's story. He was focusing on the hurt and the pain. And I started to recognize like the depression that my dad truly lived in at the time, and depression that came to follow for me, which was incredibly deep. And the pain overtook so many different areas of my own life. I watched it really riddle my dad too. Still, at the end of it, I got this wink from God saying, he's okay, I got you, and all's restored for me. And I believe my dad's in heaven. I really do. I know that there'll be a moment when I get to run and hug my dad and say, I really do forgive you. I love you.
So many people are without a father figure. Unfortunately, more of my friends than not don't have a father figure.
Yeah.
And I've seen how that has hurt them and how the enemy has used that in their life to hurt them and to seek elsewhere for that approval or that affirmation. Whether or not you have an earthly father, God truly is a father to the fatherless.
Yeah.
When you get to know him as a father in that role, it really does. I have a great earthly father, and I'm very thankful for that. But from what I've been told from the friends that I know that have not had that, would you say he begins to heal that void, and he is that for you in ways?
Yeah, this is where things started to come a little full circle for me. I realized many of the things I was doing in my life were detrimental to myself because I didn't have a fatherly voice. I really do believe that the devil tries to break families up and really targets fathers. And my oldest son does not have his father in his life, and I've had to witness the pain knowing that he's also going through pain that I also received. And it's heart-wrenching to watch someone you love experience the pain that you did as a kid and adult. It follows you forever.
Yeah.
But where the reconciliation took place for me here on earth, God replaced this human figure with himself for me. So I started to see all of those lonely moments when I was growing up without a voice, without someone protecting me in dating, without someone protecting me. He was there. He was always there. I didn't see it that way because I didn't see this physical presence. But as I've gotten to know the loving nature of who God really is, he showed me a different picture of what it was like when I felt alone. He was the father to me that I never had.
Yeah.
And he's the father to my son that my son never has. He's the husband to me that I don't have.
God fills voids, the holes in your heart, the brokenness in your heart. He and only he fills those broken places. And this is why he is different from just a human. He's God. So in a very supernatural way, you can't make sense of it. God can be that person that you don't have. He is that person that you don't have. He steps into that place or that role, that relationship, and just like Crystal's saying, shows you the entire time, I've been here with you. I've carried you. I've held your hand. I collect all of your tears. Like, God is there. Whether you feel him or not, whether you see him or not, he's always with you. That is a promise that as believers we get to hold on to.
Yeah, that's so sweet. It is exactly what I've done in every area of my life recently, is just replaced any feeling of loneliness. He's there. He is, like you said, father to the fatherless.
So I want to go back to the depression. You said your dad struggled with that. You said that you've gone through seasons of depression, feeling lonely, really struggling in that darkness. How did you handle that? What has helped you? How did you walk that season?
Well, it's really interesting how the anthem of my life really turned into depression, because as a young girl, I was faced with a lot of adversity and I became very familiar with depression. Like, it became a friend to me. I remember being little and I remember crying, and I literally said this over my life: I will always feel like this. I almost engaged in it so much that it turned into this idol.
Something a lot bigger.
Well, it was
than you
like
realize.
I didn't have comfort, so I found comfort in the depression.
Yes, so many people can relate to
It's
that.
weird.
You know, it's like it is that comfort piece. In a weird way, I think we can get so comfortable in being sad that we just keep a cycle. Instead of stepping out of it,
Yeah.
we stay in it because it gets so familiar and comfortable.
Well, felt like that was my friend. I didn't want to feel that way, but I felt, okay, I can wallow in this. And my victim mentality was my savior in a way, because I didn't do this to me. So my major first moment of this was when I stepped into being a single mom with my son, and my ex-husband has gone back to drugs, and I'm having to parent completely alone. I remember strolling my baby at the local outdoor mall and just looking around, watching other families like doing this together. And we're talking days on end of feeling lonely, and I'm looking around, no one's there. My son takes his first steps. And I'm so excited. It's these moments that you want to be happy for, but you are alone.
Yeah.
And I remember him taking his first steps. I'll never forget it, because I looked around to be like, hey, did you see that?
Yeah.
And no one was there. It was me. I had so many moments like that in parenting where you're supposed to be happy, but you can't be because you're alone. And this is not how it's designed to be.
Yeah.
And everything I was doing was adding to the hurt and the pain, and then things that I didn't even do to myself. So over time, it would stack upon stack. And I remember getting to a place, this happened multiple times in my life, of just truly crying out to God, I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to be here. I can't do it. But then I had this baby, and I was like, I have to live for him. He's my world. He's got nobody else. He's relying on me. I'm not going to abandon him. It's like you're on autopilot. I was in autopilot, in depression, but yet trying to survive. I'm living in survival mode, constantly going. And it wasn't until recent, maybe the past 6 months, I had gotten to a place where I was like, okay, I've had too many massive losses. I can't come back from this. I got to take my life. Like, I can't do this. And I'm thinking of ways. I'm trying to figure out ways to kill myself. And I didn't want anybody to know that I felt like that. But I remember saying things like, I just can't take it anymore. I can't do this anymore. And people would be like, what do you mean, Crystal? Are you planning on hurting yourself? And I'm like, no. But deep down, I was like, yes. And I just remember figuring out, could I hurt myself this way? Could I take pills? Could I do this? And I just had these 3 babies. They couldn't have their mom go too, because what would I do to them? I can't cause them more pain just because I'm in pain. But honestly, you guys, I could not see past my pain. I was so in it. When I tell you I was romanticizing it in a way, even suicide, I couldn't live like this anymore. As I started to figure out what to do, because I had to get up, I had to do the next step, I had to do the next thing, I started to realize it wasn't that I wanted to kill myself. I just didn't want to live with the pain anymore. I didn't want to feel the pain anymore. So I wanted the pain to go away. So I was thinking the best way to get rid of this pain is to not live. Yeah.
One, I'm so glad you're here. I would have been, along with so many other people, absolutely devastated. That is the lie of the enemy, that your pain will go away. Guess what? It stays. And guess who it goes on to? Your kids.
Yeah.
Your kids would have been wrecked, devastated. Talk about an earth-shattering thing.
Yeah.
But that's what happens in suicide when people get to these points in their life where they're actually thinking, if I just eliminate myself from the equation, that the pain is gone. That's such a lie from the pit of hell. That is Satan's goal in your life, is to get you to take yourself out.
Yes.
Because then he's won. And then guess what? He doesn't stop there. Then he's going after the next generation.
Yeah.
He's going after your kids.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you broke that off. Somebody needs to hear that. That's not true. Your pain doesn't stop. You just create a whole new level of pain for everybody that you leave behind that loves you, that is never going to be the same. Yeah. And I'm glad you're saying you couldn't see past your pain, because I know you're getting to the part where you talk about once you did, and that's what changed everything. If anybody is struggling with this, please talk to somebody, please get help, and please try to think about, if you can't live for yourself right now, if you can't think of one reason, fine. But look around. There are people that love you, that are here for you, that want you to keep living and going because they know God has a plan for you. If they need to be the reason that you live for now, cling onto it, grab onto it. Because, my gosh, you matter. Your life matters.
This is a very touchy subject, and I wanted to bring this up because it's so real. And there were people in my life that I exposed it to, and some people used it against me and talked about it. And some people were like, how can I help you? And thank God I'm where I'm at right now. I don't claim that over my life ever again. I know that I will never face that because I live in freedom and I'm walking in it today. But if you have those thoughts, those are demonic. That is oppression over your life.
Yeah.
They are complete lies. And
it's not ever from God.
It is a heavy feeling. We lose people every single day to suicide. We lose people constantly feeling like they are not enough, they're not good enough, they don't have anybody. But the simple fact is there are people and you do matter. And my best friend here, she was there to pick me up when I couldn't even pick myself up off the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm thankful for my kids' faces that I get to witness their smiles every day. And there's just so much now that I live in peace over, and what I almost ruined in not being able to experience my kids' childhood. It's generational, you guys. It is something that is passed on. And I'm breaking that off. I'm breaking stuff off of my life. I will not experience this again because I know how to combat that. Yeah. I knew that I needed to make a change. I was living in bed day in and day out. Depression can change
whole demeanor.
You saw me. I was not well.
What's interesting is we've only been friends for 2 years, which really isn't that long.
Yeah.
But in those 2 years,
so much of life
has happened and has allowed us to see each other in many different seasons. Mm-hmm. And we've both witnessed one another in phases of depression.
The valley.
Yeah. And you've witnessed me be a shell of who I am.
Yes.
I've witnessed you be that. And it's heartbreaking to see because we know depression sucks the life out of you.
Yeah.
It makes you feel lifeless. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to eat. You don't care. You don't want to go anywhere or do anything.
Yeah.
That zeal for life is robbed from you.
And I remember you being in a place like that too and thinking I was struggling myself. But when you love someone and they're not them, I started in my own depression speaking life over her. And I started to slowly see her joy come back where it was gone. And I was, that's my girl. Yeah. I saw the light come back on. And I know you witnessed that with me too.
With you, yeah.
But it's really wild because it's this rain cloud that will hover over you. And that, you guys, is demonic.
It is.
When you have that strong feeling, that spirit of heaviness, it needs to be broken off of you. So a friend gave me this book called Prayer Rain. You have now too. And it changed my life, you guys. Talk about deliverance.
It's an amazing tool. We'll see if we can link that for them.
Yeah, that would be so great.
You can get it on Amazon. I'm sure you can get it elsewhere.
Yeah.
But you want to tell them what it's about? It is crazy.
You guys,
it's awesome.
I remember speaking death over myself in my life. I was in the pits of hell. I was in the deep, dark depression. And a good friend of mine, she sent me this book and I was like, I'm on it. So I get this book, it's all these prayers and they are generational. You can break off generational curses by these specific prayers and then implementing them in your lives. It's a tool to know exactly what to target, to break all of this stuff off. It is life-changing. So I start fighting in the spiritual. No more of this natural mess. This is real. I'm targeting the demons that have targeted my life. I'm after them now. Mm-hmm. So I get real personal with it and I start going through the book and oh my gosh, bondage over children. Oh my gosh, witchcraft. Okay, like where do we keep? We've got so much to cover here, you guys. Mm-hmm. So I start going after it and little by little, my life changes. Immediate peace fell over my home and over myself. I was tormented day and night with depression to a point where I had insomnia. I wasn't sleeping. I felt the presence in my room. I couldn't get rid of it. It was debilitating and scary.
Yeah.
Scary. I witnessed things that still to this day, I'm like, I know exactly what that was. And it was trying to keep me up. I was spent. I was constantly chasing a clock of taking care of these kids. But I immediately, after I went to war, I started to see peace. Then I started to surrender stuff in my life. I started to take authority over who I was, the child of God that I am, and I took on the role of the anointed. I mentioned in the last episode, I started to lay down dating. I laid down drinking. I laid down many different things that really sobered up my mind. And then I started to see clearly. I witnessed my kids have joy. There was truly peace over my home. I started to sleep. And I was so close to taking antidepressants. I was talking to you about it constantly. Do I need to take an antidepressant? Like, I needed to get me through. And I'm not saying that antidepressants are bad, because I do believe that is a true clinical mental illness. You have to take medicine to get you through and to get you to see clearly.
Some people need it, and that's totally fine. But she was like, you were debating that when you weren't quite where you're at today, and you were desperate and you were looking for like a quick fix though. And so I think the idea of medicine, and you hadn't surrendered some of these things yet. And so I was just one of the people that was encouraging, like, well, wait, if you need to, okay, we'll revisit that later. But have you done this yet? Have you tried this yet? Have you tried this yet? And the answer was no. And then once you had, medicine wasn't even needed anymore, because you fixed some natural things that you did have control over. You watched how God worked in that, and how that just brought so much freedom back into your life.
Yes. And that was something that was also really interesting, is I presented that to God. I was like, God, do I take medicine? And I asked him. He gave me practical things to do. And then once I started doing them, and he started to give me the answer as true no for me, I knew it wasn't for me after some clear confirmation. And so as I did these exercises and praying, I truly experienced freedom for the first time in my life. And I'm not saying I don't have some moments of reminiscing of the past, because I think we all do that. I just want to encourage anybody who's really struggling with depression. Is so heavy, you guys. It's so heavy that you feel like you cannot get out. It's because it's demonic. It's because the devil wants to keep you there, and he wants to stop you from your comeback story. And there is a moment where you can take control. And I did. I took complete control back from the enemy, and I gave that authority to God, and he gave it back to me. And so I now walk in freedom, and I have peace over my life. And I am not depressed at all anymore. Like, I have so much joy, and I'm living my purpose and in my calling. I'm serving in my church. There's just so many things that I'm doing in my life that I'm happy about. And it doesn't involve a guy. It doesn't involve going out to parties and drinking and going on dates. I am now connected with God here.
This is why godly community is so important, you guys. When you're in these phases of depression, the enemy wants you to believe that you're all alone. The enemy wants to keep you isolated. That's why you're like, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't even want to get out of bed. I don't want to eat.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. And we get it. It is hard. It feels like your life is over. We understand. We have both been there.
Yeah.
But let me just encourage you, get up and do something about it. Tell somebody about it. Yeah. Cry out to God about it. Do the very thing that your flesh is, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go be social. That's the last thing in the world I want to go do. If you stay in that place, the enemy wants you isolated, because he's going to keep throwing the lies at you that you're not worth it. You just need to take yourself out. No, you got to stand up and you got to fight back. You guys, we have to fight the spiritual warfare. It's always at play. Yeah. And we got to stand up and say, not today, Satan. Get your hand off my life. Get your hand off my family. Get out of my house. You must flee in Jesus' name. Yeah. You have the authority to do that as a son or daughter of God. And that's what we witness. You recognize that, you remembered that, and you stepped into that authority. And the moment she did, and yes, there were people around her that were reminding her too, just like you did for me, this isn't who you are. This is an attack. You're going to get past this. You need people around you reminding you of what is true, because if you're only alone by yourself, you're only tuning in to the enemy's lies. And that's a very dangerous place to be. Just be so careful. Get out of that isolation.
And be mindful of the company you keep. Because I had the outside influences too, and I had to narrow that circle really small. Madison was very intentional of continually reminding me of who I am and what I was called to, and how this was just a season and it wasn't going to be that way forever.
That you had life past this point.
I couldn't see. And you cannot see that in depression. You cannot, because you're blinded by that heaviness that you feel. You have someone who's sitting here like cheering you on. There's always people there. And that's what we want to be. Like, we want to cheer you on. I needed that. You need that. We all need this.
God does not want any of you going through life alone. You're not going to make it, guys. We've got to have our people. We've got to have people that are calling us higher, that value you, that love you, that speak life into you, that in your hard seasons are your biggest cheerleader to keep going.
Yeah.
You mentioned you couldn't see past your pain. That's such a powerful statement, and I've been there. And I want you to share what happened once you did start looking past your pain, because it's so easy to just focus on me. Now, I don't say that to diminish your pain. I know your pain is there and it's real, but I want you to share the power of what happens when you take your eyes off yourself in the midst of your pain, what God does through that.
Yeah. Well, this is really interesting because I was that victim. I was someone that just saw, like you said, me. It's easy to say, this has happened to me. I'm the victim. It's the innocent standpoint. You're the innocent bystander, right? So it's easy to be like, well, what about me? And then you just are constantly focused on that. And that's what I wasn't meaning to do it. But when you're not the bad guy in the story, it's easy to...
You ruminate.
Yeah.
And you go through it and over it. You get in this cycle of constantly thinking about you and what happened to you without even realizing you're thinking about you so much.
Yes, yeah. And I was so focused on that. And I really started to hand things over to God. And my prayer was shifting off of, God, fix this. God, fix this. I remember praying, God, change the desires of my heart for yours and let your will be done, not mine. You know how that just changed for me? He was like, look at them. Look at this person.
You can be a positive impact to their life, but you're so focused on your pain.
Yes.
You're missing their pain. You're about to hear a remedy. Test it. Try it. I'm going to challenge you. I'm serious. If you're in a lot of pain, try to take your eyes off you for a second, for a day, and go serve somebody else. Because service is so humbling and it opens your eyes. A lot of people are in pain.
Yeah.
We've all got stuff. We've all got brokenness. And when you serve other people,
Yes.
the life that comes back to you, it is truly an act of heaven. You have so much life that flows out of you when you start being a helping hand to somebody else.
I was on a walk with you and I had lost a bunch of weight. Depression will do that. I didn't realize I wasn't even eating, but depression was lifted. So now I can feel things the way that I should. So I'm eating, I'm getting my strength back. I'm starting to exercise. Her and I are going for walks and I'm dreaming again. And things are starting to come full circle. I have developed a healthy routine. God was clearing out the junk. And I wasn't doing anything that I had covered up the pain with before. So now I'm like really feeling. So I'm eating, I'm working out. Then I start going to my church and I start serving. And then we start dreaming about the podcast. What I was doing for myself was taking every bit of my own pain and not putting it to the side, dealing with it, but then helping others. And what was happening in my heart, God was showing me love for them that I couldn't see because I could only see myself. And I need more of that. Creating healthy habits and amazing boundaries, like boundary up people, because when you do that, you'll start to put your focus and your energy on the right things. I want everybody to be there. They don't have to live in depression. It doesn't have to be that way.
If you're wanting to grow in God and walk with Him and let Him lead your life, you can't bring along with you everything that is natural to your sinful nature. God wants to prune you. He is a character developer. He wants to refine you. And you just can't take everything from the past. Like if God's bringing you into this new life and this comeback, you've got got to let him get rid of some things. But don't let that be scary. God doesn't take an area away to just leave it there and you feel like you're without something or lacking. He fills it with something even better that brings life not only in you, but in the people around you. So I want to talk about surrender just a little bit.
Where in your life do you feel like you surrendered and God did some changing in your life for you?
So mine was a journey in middle school, leading into high school, leading into college. That's when I really struggled. And I'm so passionate about the youth because of that. If I can help one young person, if I can help anybody, but if I can help especially a younger person not make the same mistakes that I made because I'm sharing how detrimental and devastating that was in my own life and they can choose better, then I'll share it all day long. To answer your question, when I really started opening up doors in my life that I didn't even realize. I was getting into all kinds of stuff and I had the wrong friends and I was heavily into drinking and partying. I said that in my story, and dating a lot and gotten into sexual sin and pornography even for a time. Was exposed to that at a very young age. Didn't know how to handle that. Didn't know what that was. Didn't want to tell anybody. And that opened up a whole level of curiosity that just really wrecked my life for a long time. I didn't know my worth at all, so I put it in men and what they thought of me or what they would say about me. And that was an exhausting feat because that was never going to fulfill me or satisfy me. And I went on this whole journey of looking for that validation in a guy and caused myself a lot of pain because of that. I got so low, again, because I'm opening up doors in my life, not realizing it and giving the enemy access. And I've had those thoughts before about, should I just end this? This is miserable. I just want the pain to go away. And the media nowadays, how Hollywood will romanticize suicide. Y'all, that's so demonic. There's nothing romantic about it. Okay,
There's glamorous.
There's nothing good about that. But I've had those thoughts. It wasn't until I first and foremost surrendering my life to God and recognizing Jesus as my Savior that started to change everything. But it's been a journey for me. There were certain things that were obvious to stop, like right away. For example, I talked about smoking weed. Obviously, that is not helping me. That's hurting me. That is opening up my mind to who knows what.
Let me just say, a lot of people think that it's so harmless because it's natural, but it's such a gateway drug. It's such an open door. How were you in that time of your life, though? What were the effects of that on you?
I was numb to everything. I was in a dream state almost the entirety of the day when I was awake. I was very much telling myself the lie of, this isn't that bad. This is like a plant, though. I even believe the lie, God made it. It's a plant.
Wow.
It's a plant.
I've heard so many times.
It's natural. So if God gave it to us, it must be good. It must be okay to do, right?
But you've heard that from someone before,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And to that, I will just say it doesn't matter if it's a plant or not. If there is anything, any substance that you are taking that affects your sobriety, it affects your state of mind, it affects your ability to think clearly, that is dangerous. Yeah. I didn't realize that while I'm doing that, I'm just letting the enemy in. I'm just letting him have a field day in my thought life. No wonder why I was depressed in that time. To answer your question, what did it do to me? It led me into a valley of depression. That's what it did to me.
Wow.
I was totally isolating myself. At that point in my life, I was the worst friend, daughter, girlfriend, student, you name it. I was not living my full potential or my best self in any way. And it was that depression that God brought me to my knees. And I was like, I can't live like this anymore. My life is going down, down very fast. And I've got to do something different. And for me, that was something that was easy to surrender. I know that's not the case for everybody. Alcohol is one I've wrestled with for a long time because it's so normalized. It's legal. It's normalized. Everybody does it. I'll say this, you maybe can. My personal conviction with it isn't yours, isn't theirs, and that's fine. But I always made excuses for myself as to why it was okay that I partaked in alcohol. And I wasn't being honest with myself. I very easily have and can overindulge in alcohol, which led me almost always back to what I was mentioning in middle school, high school, into some of the worst mistakes I have ever made in my life. Wow. Guess what's at the center of every single one of them for me? Alcohol.
Really?
Every single one of them.
Wow.
Overcame consuming an alcohol and being so out of my mind, doing things, saying things that I would, in a sober state of mind, never do.
Really?
Yeah.
They call it like alcohol spirits. Like liquor is called a spirit.
Yeah, that's weird. Think about that.
Strange.
Why is liquor called spirit? And even the different types of liquor, how it makes people act different ways.
It's like so
It's
wild. You're
weird.
one of the most steady people that I know. You're very consistent. I can't imagine this version. I just can't.
Totally different
The
person.
only thing that I can say is it's that spirit can grab a hold of you and change you. My conviction has been a different road. I felt like I needed to surrender. And I've told you, I'm like, I don't know if this will be forever. I just need a healthier relationship with it, because even my kids were like, when you were drinking, if you were happy, you were extra happy. If you were sad, you were even more sad. So if I'm trying to heal, why am I going to do something that's going to heighten my emotions and bring
Yes.
back feelings in me that's going to bring back the depression? I don't know what that looks like because it's not been a crutch, but if it's on my heart to stop, then
Just
I'm
be obedient.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you guys, if there's something tugging on your heart, you know what it is. As we're saying that, it may be alcohol, it may be something totally different, it may be weed, whatever that thing is for you. And you're like, I don't want to lay that down. If it's the thing you don't want to lay down, it's the thing that you should probably lay down.
What do you put above God? Like
Yeah.
what do you put above other people? It could even be going to the gym. There's so many aspects of this. It doesn't have to be like a substance. It is something that is your master. That's mastering your
idol.
emotions. It's mastering it. You're using it to numb your pain. You're
so glad you
using
said
it
that.
to
Yeah.
to suffice.
Veg out.
Yes.
To sit in your comfort.
Yeah. And never become the better version of yourself that you were always meant to be.
Yeah, I'm glad you said like the gym, because some of these things that we make idols and don't even realize it, some of them are good things. Going to the gym's a great thing. Sports are a great thing.
Golf. We all love the Masters.
Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Boundaries are so crucial. And if it's above God, we just need to reorder some things. Maybe we cut out some time watching sports or going to the gym, because if that is above your time with God, and you're not growing spiritually and spending time with God because you're going to the gym every day and that's your first and utmost priority, well, then we just got to reorder that. Now, other things are definitely bad for you and should cut them out completely. Other things just need to be reordered. You think you're missing out, but look at what God's going to put in its place, and it is priceless. There's no strings attached. The gifts God gives are not only free, but they are satisfying and they are life-giving. And so if anybody's wrestling with that, know that you're not alone, and just be bold, make the decision, own it, be confident in it. If that's what God's putting on your heart to do, and watch how fulfilling it is.
If there are any moments in here that you feel like this would hit home for you, we want to be here for you.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.